Today on The Kathy Fountain Show, 4 stories that will amaze and inspire you.
Just coming out of prison,
Yeah, right.
how in the heck are you going to be in the major leagues next year? But I was that determined.
Life-changing experiences, today at 10.
Today, in 1982, Gary Carter was the mother of 2 children going through a divorce. And Gary, you at the time considered yourself a pretty attractive, beautiful woman. Is that right?
I was a model,
You were a model.
yes.
And appearances and how you looked and how you dressed and all those external things were real important to you.
That's
How,
right.
how important were they?
Well, in my first life, I looked at the lampshades and not the light bulbs inside.
You say in your first life. That's
Yes.
how you divide your life into your first life and your second life.
Yes, totally, totally.
Now, everything about Gary's life changed the night of an accident. And the weather was snowy, and it was awful weather, and you had your 11-year-old son in the car with you. And what happened to you, Gary?
A carload of kids lost control and hit us head on in our lane. And all I remember thinking was, my son has to be all right. I don't care what happens to me as long as he's not hurt. His seatbelt held, and the main impact of the crash was on my side. The steering wheel got in my face. My face was a hole from the eyes down. And the engine got in my legs, severing one and breaking everything from the hips to the toes. The whole car was just pancaked on me. When the car stopped spinning around, my son got out and came around to my side to get me out. And all of a sudden he realized that his mother didn't have a face. And he realized that his mother wasn't breathing anymore. And he had learned in Cub Scouts the week before how to do CPR. And he did it and brought me back.
I just have this picture of this little boy, the Cub Scout, doing this to you and saving your life.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's really
Oh,
something.
it chokes me up too still. He gets very embarrassed when I tell the story now. He's now 6'5".
But this is a remarkable young man.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the minutes, the hours following this? Were you conscious? Do you remember feeling pain? Tell me what you felt.
I was conscious. I had no face, so I couldn't talk, smell. My eyes were cut by all the broken glass, and my contact lenses had flown out, so I couldn't see. I could hear, though. And
You were conscious and you were aware that... Were you in pain? Were you feeling pain?
no, I was in shock, and the only lady rescue squad member slipped in beside me when the rescue squad got there as they started to pull the car apart with the jaws of life. And she slipped her arm around my shoulders and she said, "Don't worry, I won't leave you. You'll be all right. You're not alone." And it was that word of hope that I needed at that time. Right after that, I was put in the rescue squad to be taken to the University of Virginia Hospital. And they started cutting up the legs of my slacks, and I thought, my mother always said to wear clean underwear in case I was in an accident. And I did it, and they're not looking at it. They're just cutting it up.
I do understand that you say the streak of white in your hair happened the night of the accident. This was not there before. It just was... It became a part of your hair and your life from the
Yes.
shock of the accident. Your hair went white.
A blow to the head a lot of times will stop the hair having color there. And my daughter, who looks like my first face, loves it because it makes us look different. Because I have the streak and she doesn't.
Now, you went through how many surgeries afterwards to reconstruct your face?
It took them 10 years and approximately 10 surgeries to remake my face. They have to start with the inside like building a house. So they have to redo the bones, the cheekbones, the jawbones and all, and then eventually work to the outside.
And you brought a picture which is one of the few that we can even really show you because they are so graphic that I'm not even sure that most people could look at them, but this is how they are reconstructing your mouth and lips.
That's when they were making lips, and what they did is they took grafts from inside the palate and then they pulled them to the outside where my lips were to be, and sewed them in place, and then they stayed that way for a month. I had a little tiny hole on one side to put a tube in to eat. And at the end of the month, then they severed the graft, which had grown, and started to sculpt it into lips.
You have said in your book, which is called Healing Myself, that harder than any of the surgeries and harder than the pain was what you would feel when people would come to visit you and would look at you.
Yes. In my first life, I was used to people looking at me with looks of admiration from being a model. I would walk into a room and people would go, and then to not have a nose and not have a mouth, you can't imagine how people look at you with horror. And I felt guilty that I was upsetting them by my appearance. It was a total turnaround of my life, from being admired to being looked at with distaste.
Yes.
Yes, to be, well, not admired in a different way, not admired at all.
In your second life, which you are in now, and I'll tell you, you look great.
Thanks.
You look great. How do you look at your life differently now because of this tragedy?
I look more at the big picture than little things. If I'm stuck in traffic, I don't get upset and angry the way I did in my first life. I realize that there is something, a lesson or something for me to know in that situation. There's always something wonderful. If I look around, I'll see a beautiful tree, or I'll see somebody I hadn't noticed in a supermarket line. There's always a reason, and I feel so blessed that I can reach out that hand of hope to other people as I looked for it as I was going through my reconstruction.
Because you had plenty of months to lay there in a hospital room and re-examine your life and think about where you were, and you found things in your life that you did not particularly like.
That's right. And I had the chance to recraft the inside of myself as well as the outside. A wonderful friend came to visit me in the hospital when I was unable to read, watch television, do anything. And he said, "Gary, I want to leave you with two quotes to remember. And one is, what has happened has happened. What I'm going through, I shall rise above. And what will come, I will meet with courage." And the second one is, being alone with oneself is like being with a best friend whose company will last forever. Those two quotes are by Hazrat Inayat Khan, and I said them over and over and over to myself in the months of solitude I had ahead.
I'm sure it took quite something to hold on during those months, too. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk to an expert who will tell us why tragedies like you've heard about are often the springboard to life changes. We'll be right back.